Another compositional issue is thinking about visual weight and balance. In the two examples I've got here, we have a simple black circle on a white ground. Or if you think about it in drawing terms, maybe we take a black marker and we make a solid black, fairly large dot on the top part of the page. When we do that, we have a real sense that that flat black shape has weight. And so it feels heavy when it's on the top of the paper, kind of all by itself. If we simply turn that paper around, or if we draw it on the bottom instead of the top, it actually feels like now it is resting and it's more stable. So even though we have something that's simple, flat, two-dimensional, the sensation that those objects or those marks and those shapes have weight as objects do is present. So we need to think about this as we make our arrangements in the picture plane. Again, we can use our viewfinder or our phone screen to help us think about and visualize what our drawing picture plane would look like. Now, in the top left example, you can see that the composition is divided evenly and it feels balanced in a very symmetrical, very ordered arrangement, right? We have two things in the background that are on the left and the right, and then two things in the foreground that are on the left and the right. And we have a sense of kind of balance here, right? On the bottom right, we've taken those same objects, and now we have more of an asymmetrical arrangement. It feels much less structured, much less ordered, maybe a little more organic. And it's, again, thinking about the weight of perhaps a group of objects, not just one object, but a group of things compared to another, right? We start to read the three objects on the left more as a group because they overlap, right? Whereas the object on the right feels very separate spatially from those other objects, and it's really counterbalancing that grouping of objects on the left. Here I've taken the same kind of black circle and I put it on the right side, and now you can see how it feels like that is more heavy visually, and so the picture plane almost feels like it's tipping to the right. And so to balance something like that, we need something on the opposite side to counter that weight. So in the photo on the bottom right, you can see the forms that are placed next to one another again are seen as a group. And so the form on the bottom left acts as a counterbalance to that group of forms on the right, right? So we're constantly thinking about, again, this idea of visual weight and balance as it relates to the idea of gravity. If you don't think gravity is possible in a picture, I think these four images should convince you otherwise. We look at these and we feel like things are tipping or falling or sliding or dropping. And what do we have? We have just black shapes on a white ground. So nothing realistic is represented here at all. And yet we have the sensation of gravity in each of these four images. Another example, this is by Salvador Dali, pretty famous painting called Persistence of Memory. And notice how the weight of all the forms on the left side of the painting are counterbalanced by that landscape shape on the top right corner. If you take your hand and maybe use one or two fingers and you cover up the landscape shape on the top right, closing one eye, and kind of imagine that the sky, the land, the water just continue out there, you notice how that image now feels much heavier on the left without the counterbalance of that shape on the right. Right? Now, when we draw forms as lines and outlining defines forms, right, we don't have a lot of visual weight, but we do still have a sensation of balance. As we start working with and moving past line into value, which is lights and darks and grays, we can create forms that feel heavier because they are darker on the page. And then we're thinking more about balance in relation to visual weight because value is a factor.